Welcome to my designer class. My name is Mercy and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I'm going to be featuring the stamp set Healing Hugs, and this is a new Destinktive set, and mostly I'm going to be focusing on different tips I have for getting a good image and a more interesting one. So I will set this aside and we'll start with experimenting with the leaves. Now, I did an earlier tutorial on this, and I talked about the difference between using a felt pad versus the foam, which I still stand behind. However, I feel that you can use the foam, but with a few tips. The main issue with the foam is if your pad is too juicy, the image gets washed out. So I will give a few examples of that. I'm going to bring in some cardstock here and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's my mounted leaf, and I will start off with using the old felt pad and show you the result of that. And I think shows a good definition, but it's a little bit faded. We probably should add a little bit more ink to this pad. It's not quite juicy enough. Now, this is a very juicy foam pad, and I want to show what happens when I use this one. Okay, I want to maximize the amount. Okay, so you don't get a really good definition, and that to me, it just kind of is, I don't know if you can see, you don't see a ton of definition in the lines like you should with this Destinktive. So what I do, which is, I have to admit, a little bit wasteful, is I'm going to stamp off some ink. So I will bring in some old craft cardstock here, and I will stamp off. Yeah. And what I want to do is, I want to be able to see some lighter marks on the stamp. And let's see, we'll try and see if 3 is good enough. See if this works a little better. And I got a little bit on the edges there, so I'm going to bring in my wonderful chamois that is the new Stampin' Up! Product, which I absolutely love. It does a fantastic job. I wasn't sure if I really needed it, but now I'm absolutely thrilled. Okay, so that shows a little bit more definition. Still a little bit too juicy in my opinion. One more should do the trick. Let's see if I'm right. And I'll bring it back in. And you just want to tap lightly with these foam pads. And yes, that's perfect. Can you see that? All right, so today's project, I'm going to show mainly about using sponge daubers. And this is a tip that they did show in the catalog. And I also watched a Facebook Live presentation by Patty Bennett on doing this. So those are my 2 inspirations. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this off, and I will start by using the peach colored ones. Sorry about the cat. I'm trying to get my son to go feed her some cat food. She is begging. Okay, so again, we're going to experiment with this, and I don't know if you can tell, the center one is more marbled, the colors, and the ones on the side, I have only the center and the Daffodil Delight, more or less, and I'll show you the difference how I did that. Okay, so I'm going to set the leaf aside, and I will bring out my mounted stamp and show you how I did this. Okay, so as you can see, this is not a very juicy pad, which is what I want. Oddly enough, most stamping you actually want it more juicy, so that it has a nice crisp image. Okay, so I'll go ahead, and if it gets too dry, it's a good idea to have the ink pad close by. So I just go ahead and stamp it with the ink, the lighter ink, and I'm going to go in with Calypso Coral and add a little bit of color. And this is really I think a fantastic technique, and adds a lot more interest. I don't know if you can still see my card in this image in the screen. But I was just really excited when I learned about this technique. And then here I just kind of add a few random spots. Now, that's my Calypso Coral dauber, and I'm going to come with the Daffodil Delight now and kind of do the same thing and kind of even it out a little bit and put in some more of the Daffodil Delight and go ahead stamp. And we'll see. Okay, so there's the image, and I really liked it, but you kind of see a little bit of white here. So the pad could have been a little juicier, the Daffodil Delight. So if I just add a little bit quickly, it actually should settle for like 15 minutes before you try stamping with it again. But it definitely needs a little bit more ink. So I'll go ahead and stamp it. Whoop, it's sticking. And I will go ahead once again with the Calypso Coral, and we'll see how this one turns out. This is all about experimenting and having fun with your stamps. So I just encourage you, if you don't like the first result, just keep trying and have fun with it, because that's what stamping's about. It's about having fun. So each time you do this, it'll be a slightly different result, which is fun as well. Okay, so there's my next image, and I think it's actually quite a bit better. I like it better. All right, so I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to show you how I did with the pink colors, Berry Burst and Powder Pink. That color combination, which I think was gorgeous together. Although I love this one, it's hard to say which one's better. So I will just set this aside, and I will be working on a card using this color combination. So bear with me as I get set up here. I will, of course, I need to go ahead and clean this really well because we're switching colors. I definitely don't want to mix those colors together. It's very different. So yeah, my stamp is very clean now. And I'm going to now bring in the Stamparatus. All right, so here we go. And with this one, I'm going to do the same pretty much the technique, but I'm going to do one extra step. And I don't know if you'll like it or think it's unnecessary, but to me, I thought it was actually pretty cool. So I will go ahead and take this off. Hang on one second. All right, I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to set it. I'm trying to do this from the side so you can see it better. I'm going to pretty much set it in the corner down here, and I hope it comes out well. And I'm going to just lift straight up. And I did a very good job cleaning it, thanks to the chamois and everything. So, all right, with this new color scheme, I'm going to, I need more space here. Okay, so I'm going to first start off with the powder pink and go ahead and stamp the powder pink straight down, just like I did before. And then the next step is to add the Berry Burst. And again, this is pretty much the same thing with just doing it on a straight block. But you'll see in a minute the difference and why using the Stamparatus actually can change it up a little too. So this is a bigger contrast, I would say, the color between the Berry Burst and the powder pink. Okay, so I'll get my powder pink dauber, and I'm going to, from the corner here, pick up some ink, and once again, I'm going to fairly randomly press down so I get some variation, but okay, so here, just same thing, you're stamping. But now I can come back a second time, and with this time, I just do the Berry Burst. No, this isn't Berry Burst, I'm sorry. Powder Pink, and lay some ink down that way. Okay. So when you come back like that, I think it adds a different dimension. It kind of smooths it out by using the Stamparatus. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this up in the corner. Excuse my head for a second. And once again, I'll repeat the process. Of course, now I have it a little bit of an image there from stamping off, but that won't matter. Okay, so I want to get my berry burst now and repeat this process. And I'm kind of randomly stamping in here. I don't want a ton of color, but I definitely want it noticeable, the berry burst. And because it's such a brilliant color, it actually doesn't take much. Now, if you're concerned about not getting onto your lighter color, just stamp off a little bit with the sponge dauber onto some scratch paper. All right, setting that aside, I will come right down and press firmly with your palm, and ta-da. So I will once again come in with the powder pink, and I will overlay it one more time. And I think this is really a cool look. And it's just slightly different, and of course it dries a little lighter. So that is the technique I have with using the Stamparatus. I will go ahead and set this aside now and assemble the card. All right, where's my scratch paper? Oh, here. I don't want to get the ink on this, but I'm not going to take the time to clean it up. Okay, so setting that aside, and we will now proceed on assembling the card. Now, I did go ahead and stamp one and cut it out, so I will not waste time cutting out. But right now, I will work on the leaves, actually. That's the next step, to stamp on the leaves. I'm going to close up my stamp pads so that we don't have a mess. And with the coral one, I went with Granny Apple and Call Me Clover. And this combination for this card, I'm going to be using Lemon Lime Twist and Tranquil Tide. So most of these are actually last year's in colors. Anyhow, so with this one, I did not use the Stamparatus. I didn't think it was really necessary. So I simply stamped, and I didn't do as much blending. So you'll see that in a second. So just stamp with the Lemon Lime Twist. Then with your Tranquil Tide, we're just going to pick up a little bit of ink and go on the edges here. And I'm not too concerned about getting a little bit of the Lemon Lime Twist, since it's it's a much lighter color. So okay, I'm gonna just set this under here so I don't have a big mess, because we're gonna be stamping off some of the card. Not stamping off so much as getting it onto the scratch paper. Okay, stamp one. Now it could have been probably better if I wouldn't have gotten on the leaf, but you know, this is the way it is. So I'm going to quickly clean up my leaf stamp, and that's the only thing with this time. I would definitely recommend really cleaning it each time between doing this. So I'm going to come back in here and going ahead and having, I don't know if you can see that, you barely can even see the Lemon Lime Twist unless you get in there. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp again. And then I'm going to clean up my stamp pad. Sorry, this takes a little bit of time, but you can see how it really changes it by using the sponge dauber, and it just makes it more dimensional. I think more exciting. So I hope you give this technique a try. I know I'm glad I did. So one more leaf, and I think that should do it. Okay, there's not a lot of room on this one, so technically I really wouldn't have to go around too much here, but you know, I will do it anyway. So I'm just sort of guessing. This isn't an exact science, and actually maybe I'll do one more up in this top corner for this card. All right, I talked myself into one more. I can do that, right? It's my right as a stamper to change my mind. Okay, so There we go, final one. And we can actually begin to assemble this card. Okay, so I'm going to set my Tranquil Tide and Lemon Lime Twist aside and make my work surface more accessible here. I'm going to grab my snail and go ahead adhere the card at this point. So, and of course, because I had been doing a few leaves, tucking it under and preparing that, sometimes you have to restart this snail by pushing up on it a little bit, but it works just fine. One of these times it's going to run out on me, and then I'll have to do something, I don't know what. It's actually lasted a long time for me, this snail, so I kind of am due. Okay, so this leaf is going to go here, but before I do that, I'm going to quickly add the sentiment. And with this, it is part of the set, but the framelit I used from here, from this lakeside, and it's this one. So I thought it cut it out really well. So obviously, I'm a little concerned to fit this in, so I will go ahead and put the sentiment on first, and then I can adjust where the flower is going to go. All right, so there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and take off. I have some dimensionals already attached. And these are dimensionals I got with one of the paper pumpkin kits. They included so much, I'm not sure, I think it was April's month, or maybe it was March, I'm not even sure now. One of the months, they included a ton, so I haven't had to buy dimensionals in a little while. These are such a pain, though, to get off some of these backings. Okay, so here's my final rose. No pun intended to the bachelor, but I didn't even think about that when I first said it. All right. Okay, so one last thing would be to go ahead and add the pearls. I added rhinestones on my other card, if you can see here. And this one, I thought pearls would be perfect. It'd be so pretty. It's a little bit more girly because it's pink, obviously. And we all think soft pink. And it's actually really a rosy pink, the berry burst, especially when it's blended in with this powder pink. Okay, and one big fat pearl. I'm going to put that down here. So we have threes. Okay, so there you have it. Here are some of what I have that went into the cards, in case you're interested. And thank you so much for watching. Please email me at mewants3@gmail.com if you have any questions or would like to place an order with Stampin' Up through me. I hope you give this technique a try with using the sponge daubers. I absolutely love this Healing Hugs set. So happy stamping, and I will see you later.